The NHS have decided to completely become political, as they've decided to make a move against the will of the people and parliamentary democracy. This is absolutely insane. The NHS, that was already woke, that was already a wasteful institution, but forget about all that. They've now completely become a political institution, and you're going to say, oh, you're exaggerating. No. I'm talking about constitutionally being political. This is the problem that we're having right now. So, in a normal situation, you have political parties standing with some sort of manifesto. They put things in the manifesto, or they announce a policy. People would vote for them. They get elected, and they try to implement those policies. And if they actually ask civil servants and bureaucrats to do something, it's the will of the people. It's public policy, democratically elected, right? So if you actually oppose it in the institutions that we have, civil servants, for example, then you are exactly going against democracy. This is about Steve Barclay, who is now Health Secretary. I'm not a defender of this Tory government, as you guys know, but one thing that was in their manifesto to go, and they made all these announcements during the 2019 elections, was to go against the wokery and this diversity stuff in the NHS. And they talked a good game, the Tories, right? They kept saying, oh yeah, we're going to do something about it. But they didn't for a while. And they finally decided to make it policy. So Steve Barclay went to the NHS and said, this is now the will of the people. I'm an elected politician. You have to stop these diversity spendings. The NHS basically said, we have decided to go against Steve Barclay, and we've decided to spend millions and millions of pounds extra on top of everything else. Instead of shutting down these woke managers, nope. They've decided to move to spend millions of pounds more to set up 3 new departments focusing on equality and LGBT issues that comes despite ministers' demand for less bureaucracy. So in the past, we've had woke stuff happening in government because politicians either approved it or they just turned a blind eye. Both bad. But that means politicians gave consent. So you blame the politicians. But when for the first time politicians, elected politicians, decided to go with the will of the people and what we voted for, and they said, all right, we have the consent of the public, this is the policy, you have to do it. If civil servants go against it, you can't blame politicians technically anymore. Obviously we can, because they still have to respond to us. They're responsible, but it's actually the enemy within doing it. So earlier this year, Steve Barclay, the Health Secretary, ordered the NHS England to get rid of specific diversity and inclusion roles as part of efforts to ensure good value for money. And the reason he did that was because they know the elections are coming up, so the Tories want to be slightly less woke. So don't think that somehow the Tory government have decided to become pro-common sense and conservative. So that's why they're doing it, but at least they're doing it. It's good news. But now we have the state going against the government, the establishment state, so civil servants and the faceless bureaucrats inside the NHS and government departments directly disobeying the orders. This is not really healthy for our parliamentary democracy. You could disagree with the Tory policy. You could, if you're woke and liberal watching this, you could be like, oh, I want more diversity managers. Yeah, fine. You can disagree with the policy, but constitutionally, they are elected to say that, and bureaucrats have to follow the orders, unless the orders are illegal. NHS waiting lists in England are also at a record high, with 7.7 million people, around 1 in 7 of population, waiting for treatment. What are they doing in the NHS? They're still wasting more money on these managerial roles, and of course diversity officers and everything else. You can see what's been happening in the waiting list. You can see that they are more concerned about political issues than actually reforming the body of the healthcare system that we have. Anyway, so that's the reaction, but they are now saying that the plans, that their new plans that the NHS have announced, say that the national EDI team will focus on establishing policy, knowledge and expertise in areas other than race and disability. The other new departments, people and culture and people and communities, are set to include more roles dedicated to inclusion, voice and culture, and LGBT health and inequalities. The £13.8 million in total salaries, just the salaries, not the rest of the project, by the way, across the 3 units and departments, does not include on-call, overtime, and the London Wayne allowances, which could significantly inflate those salaries. This is insanity, ladies and gentlemen. But when you look at the latest graph from the IFS, the numbers when it comes to NHS England workforce as a share of total workforce in the country, 1 in 11 workers in England could become NHS staff by 2036. This is the size of the state increasing. You would think that's a good thing. You would say, oh, well, that's good, more staff. Yeah, but that's been going on. That's been going up since, what, 2013 days. Has it actually helped the NHS? Because these are not skilled and British trained doctors and nurses that could help solve the problems of the healthcare system. No, it's just complete nonsense. They're increasing the number of employees and staff, but it's not actually reforming the system. They're either, again, managerial roles, bureaucrats, admin roles, or these diversity officers, or even if they are going to be focusing on healthcare itself, which is supposed to be the job of the NHS, they're still not really doing their job properly. They're not focusing on reform. So there's absolutely no point. But my biggest problem is, this news came out last night, and this morning, broadcast media, like my channel, have been talking about it. All of them, none of them focus on what I focused on. That some of them, so the pro-woke side, the liberal media, are saying, hey, the NHS are spending more money on diversity. The anti-woke side media, that you have the couple of channels on TV, they've been criticizing, oh, the NHS going woke. Yeah, we've been talking about that every day. I'm focusing on how this is constitutionally wrong, and it's undemocratic to go against the mandate that people gave this stupid government to do something right for once, and they decided to give an order to bureaucrats, and the bureaucrats are directly disobeying the orders. That's the technicality that you have to focus on if you're going to be in media. But they're all idiots. They're all having a random debate because they want to make it sexy and say, oh, I like woke. Oh, I dislike woke. Yeah, we get it. There are 2 sides. One of you like woke stuff, one of you dislike woke stuff. Who's going to care about the fundamental issues of the country that is completely bringing down the institutions that was at once credible and respected by the general public? Anyway, I'll keep you guys posted on this. I'm going to guess the Tories are not going to do anything about it as usual. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.